I want to show you how I made the palm trees on this cake. So I have black marshmallow fondant. That fondant does have Tylose powder mixed into it. I did soak those skewers under water and I'm rolling the fondant into a log. And then I take one of those wet skewers and just press it into the fondant, pinch it shut, and then just roll back and forth to cover the dowel. And where it's sticking over the top, I just trim it and just keep rolling it until I get it to the right thickness. Smooth it out a little bit, and then I'm going to let it dry in a styrofoam block. And I did that a couple different times. Then I'm rolling out the black fondant. You can see how thick it is. I'm just removing some of that cornstarch on the bottom of it, but it needs to be thick enough to get a little floral wire in it. And I'm crumbling up some aluminum foil and putting that on a cookie sheet, using my leaf cutters to cut these out. And I want to dip that floral wire in some piping gel, and I'm carefully like twisting it and trying to screw it in here. That way it's not going to poke out the front or back of that fondant. Floral wire that you use has to be really thin. So I believe this was a 22 gauge wire. That way it's not going to be too thick and it will fit through the fondant. Then I'm taking my Dresden tool and just sliding it across the fondant just so I can get some texture in here to make it look like a palm leaf. And then I'm going to let it dry on this crumpled up aluminum foil just to give it shape. And I'm going to keep doing that with a couple different sizes of the leaf cutters, keep dipping that wire into piping gel. And I think I did about 7 or 8 leaves per tree. I think it's better to make more that way you have more in case you need it. But I'm just trying to get this wire up here, making sure that it's not poking through the fondant. And then again, taking my Dresden tool and then just adding the texture. And I did that many different times, and I let all of those dry for a couple hours on that aluminum foil to give them a little bit of shape. And I totally forgot to record this. To make these little lines in here, I just took this tool and I'm holding the tool steady and I'm turning it with my left hand, and I go all the way to the middle, and then I flipped it around the other side, started at the top and then went to the middle again and just made those lines in there. Super simple. And I just let them dry in that styrofoam block. Now I'm cutting a skewer with some snips here because I need to create a hole in the board. So I'm putting the trunk where I want it to be, taking that little skewer there and then just hammering that down to create a hole. That still was a little too long. So I'm trimming off the very bottom of the fondant just so it looks nice and neat. Taking my snips and trimming that, getting a little piping gel underneath it, and then trying to put it in the hole. The hole wasn't big enough, so I'm just taking that skewer again and pressing it down to widen that hole. And then I pressed it down and it fits. So now I want to put the leaves in here. I need to bend that wire and trim off the excess. And then I'm going to slide this in the fondant part of that tree trunk. Now you want to make sure that you bend this really close to the fondant and then trim off the excess and slowly slide it down. I don't want to hit the skewer and I don't want that to poke out the side of the fondant. So I'm trying to get that in there very straight. And I just kept repeating the process for this. And I don't always bend them all backwards. That one I wanted sitting up straight. So I left that wire pretty straight on here. Then I wanted another tree trunk right next to it. So before I finished putting all the leaves on there, I put that other tree trunk in there, and that one I wanted to make sure that it was sticking to the cake. So I got a little bit of icing, that pink icing behind it, and I stuck that down to the cake. That way the tree trunk is going to stick and it's not going to fall off there. A little trick there for you. And I just took a dry paintbrush and removed the excess. And then I'm repeating this process. So it's a little easier now that I have this other one in here. I can put the leaves down so they fit around the other tree. And this tree in the back is a little bit taller than the one I have down in the front. That leaf was falling off a little bit, so I got a little bit of icing behind the leaf and stuck it to the cake. That way it would stay in place. And then the other tree that I'm doing up there, much easier to get it, just have to slide it into the cake, and doing the same thing with the leaves. Again, I'm kind of bending the wire in the correct direction. That way the leaves will be facing the right way as I slide them down. It's a pretty simple process. Now, these are just black on this cake. However, if you wanted to do real palm trees, you can have the brown tree trunk and green leaves, or make them whatever color that you want.